Shortstop is loaded with talent, but also loaded with questions. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Monday, November 20th. I am Frank Samfel, joined by Scott White, and happy Thanksgiving week. Let's take a look at Scott's way too early shortstop rankings, the top 5 for next year. Bobby Witt, followed by Trea Turner, Corey Seager, Francisco Lindor, and Gunnar Henderson, who has both third base and shortstop eligibility. Scott, the questions start here with Trea Turner, who hit .266 this year, which was a career low, 26 homers, 102 runs scored, 30 steals. By now, we know what was going on, or at least we think. First year in Philadelphia, mega contract. Seems like he was pressing. The first 2/3 of the season, not so great. And then the final 48 games, Trea Turner was amazing. .337 batting average, 16 homers, OPS over 1,000. That carried over into the postseason. Was it enough for you to believe Trea Turner is all the way back?
Yes, I do think it was enough. In addition to the improved surface level stats for Trea Turner, we saw the underlying stats, particularly the plate discipline stats, improve. He was chasing less. He was having more success at the pitches he was swinging at. It was more in line with what we saw from him earlier in his career. And so I think that really feeds into the narrative that he was pressing at first. And it continued in the postseason, the improvements, August, September, and then into October for Trea Turner. I don't think we need to draft him exactly like we were drafting Trea Turner prior to 2023. You can leave a little room for doubt there, but in categories leagues, I mean, obviously I'm ranking him second at the position, so he's still a first rounder for me. And, going to provide you with speed, some power, and hopefully get that batting average back up to where we're used to seeing it as well.
All right, 6 through 10 in your shortstop rankings. We have Bo Bichette, followed by Elly De La Cruz, CJ Abrams, Matt McLain, and Nico Horner. Let's take a look at Bo Bichette here, Scott. Tough one to rank because the batting average is really good. He hits a ton of line drives, but the power production is not elite by any means. The stolen bases have come down 3 years in a row. We're really holding on to that breakout 2021 season where obviously he was an elite player, like a top 5 player, but we haven't really seen that upside since. What are your thoughts on Bo Bichette?
Really hard one to rank. I think I was more concerned about him than most people heading into last year because I saw the declining sprint speed. I saw the poor success rate on stolen bases, not to mention the fact he stole only 30. He was 30 for 21 in 2022, which wasn't very good, obviously. And I think a lot of people were just assuming he'd bounce back. Certainly the rule changes fueled that hope. And instead it went the other way. He dropped even more, had only 5 stolen bases. The sprint speed went down to the point, and he's in the lower half of the league now for sprint speed. So are the stolen bases coming back for Bo Bichette? I'm pretty skeptical of that. The power production, he was verging on 30 homers in that 2021 season, and now coming off a 20 homer season and 135 games. So he did miss a little time to injury. Maybe pencil Bo Bichette in for more like 25. But 25 without much stolen base potential in what's become a suspect lineup. A lot of Blue Jays have had trouble hitting at Rogers Center the past couple years. His combined run and RBI total this past year, Bo Bichette's was only 142. Again, 135 games, but still, that's bad for what should be a good player and a good lineup. Is that lineup going to continue to be a hindrance for Bo Bichette rather than a help? These are all fair questions. I'm most skeptical of the speed, I will say. I'm not sure that's coming back for Bo Bichette. And so there's a lot more pressure on him to max out his power potential and max out his lineup potential. Batting average is probably pretty safe, but there's a lot of other good options at this position. And I think Bo Bichette is going to have a lot of holdover appeal just because, he's already established as an early round type, only 25 years old. He might just stick there, even though the numbers say he doesn't necessarily deserve to.
All right, Scott, I'm going to give you the impossible task of talking about CJ Abrams in a minute or less here to finish out the podcast. An awesome skill set, 18 homers, 47 steals. He really took off the final 3 months of the season. A former top prospect. Who's to say he can't keep getting better? But as of now, there are still lots of flaws, and you have to pay a premium. We're talking about like a top 40, top 50 pick for CJ Abrams.
Yeah, I mean, he's tricky, same as Bo Bichette, but like for all the opposite reasons, because the one thing we can count on CJ Abrams for, I feel like, is stolen bases. Of his 47 this past year, a great total in its own right. 38 came in the final 3 months. So we're talking about a guy with 70 steal potential. And this was always who he was projected to be in the minors. It's what made CJ Abrams such an enticing prospect. It took him a while to get around to using that speed in the majors, but once he started running, he ran with reckless abandon and was very successful at it. So I expect that's going to continue for CJ Abrams. It's given that, his power's middling, his batting average is middling, his on-base skills are poor, so batting at the top of the Nationals lineup still may not be runs scored. I'm not sure he provides enough else with those stolen bases, which aren't as scarce anymore, to justify a 4th-round pick in roto leagues. But that seems to be where he's going to go, Abrams, if you want to take him. So you just have to make sure you do it with the right build so that you're not overdoing it with the stolen bases.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.